So, welcome back to another year. We all go once more, don't we? So, purpose of today's clinic, we're looking at sort of quite a bit of just introducing the year again, making sure we're happy with any deadlines and all that sort of stuff for the year. So, looking at VCRF, registrations, exam dates, placement hours, and a bit of things going forward. So you've got myself on here, I'm Nicola, I'm the EB manager, and Catherine is also on here, who's the centre lead. I think for some of you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
If you need to contact us, obviously there's the inquiries email, or just contacting us directly if you need to. We will stay on at the end if you've got any specific questions, and we can try and go forward from there. A bit of etiquette for us, please, if we can make sure we've got the microphone muted so we're not getting the background noise. And also, if possible, if you can switch off the video when you're not talking, it just helps with bandwidth and people get less interference. I know it's a bit of a faff switching things on and off, but it just obviously helps you guys a little bit as well. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat. I mean, there's only 13 of us on here, so if you do want to shout in at any point, just unmute yourself and shout in with a question. It's not a problem. And again, we will stay on at the end if you've got any questions to ask at that point. So, a really short slide on VCRF for once. I feel like over previous years it's been like 10 pages long, this section. But touch wood, our current plans. The exams are going ahead as planned as far as we know. We are not planning to make any changes. Obviously, this is COVID and centre opening and all that sort of stuff dependent, but according to the OCPOL regulations at the moment, switched off the tag side of the VCRF on the 31st of August, but the adaptation side remains open. So that means that if we feel we need to make any adaptations to assessment content or assessment plans, we can do, but we can't award tags. Ofqual made it clear that this was available to be switched back on at any point if it was deemed necessary. So if there was a further widespread closure, and they themselves said localized or national, then they would be able to switch that back on to allow a reverse to tags if required. Hopefully not, because I don't think any of us want it. We'd all like the exams to just go ahead at this point. We are not making any core changes to assessment plans or assessment processes or content. I think the last few years have shown it has been running absolutely, well, as fine as it can be. Let's put it that way. I think we've learned a lot, but what we did find was the content coverage and the content inclusion was done very, very well by centres, really consistently, and it was what was needed within the qualification. Is there any immediate questions regarding VCRF, or I'm hoping everyone's happy to hear that? Okay. So, sorry, lots of small text on this one. I obviously tried to get a lot of information in one. So, planning for the year. There's a lot of information on here, and I'm going to sort of break off the PowerPoint ever so often just to talk through bits and bobs and things like that. So, registrations. We're fast approaching that deadline date for your registrations for you to be able to make sure you get your funding in place. I think it's normally early November, isn't it? So, please make sure you have got those registrations in place as soon as you can, because obviously we can't communicate regarding exams and stuff like that if we haven't got registrations. Please make sure you have got the right combinations and credits and so on within the qualification, particularly for the ones where there is optional units such as the level 4. Make sure you've got sufficient options within there to cover the minimum requirements in the qualification, and make sure that's on your registration document. You can make changes to those at a later point if we need to, but it's making sure you yourselves have got sufficient coverage in there. quick show of hands. I'm not sure you can show hands on here, can we? But how many of you have managed to be able to access MIA recently? Or are you all thinking, I've never heard of it? Again, if you want to drop in the chat, onto the chat if you can, if you just say yes, no, yes, you've been in MIA, or no, you've never heard of it, or don't know what.
I've never heard of any of it. I'm new to teaching level 4. Ours doesn't start till January, so whatever, all the things that you're saying right now are so
yeah, that's fine. To be fair, we're going to record, this is recorded, so you can come back to this video when it suddenly makes sense in January. But there's certain aspects of this. So on MIA, you can see the qualifications you offer. So obviously when you go into Quartz, you register your learners, but MIA is the centre management. Think of Quartz as learner management, as MIA as centre management. So you can see which qualifications you've got approval to run. So the first thing is making sure that that is correct, and you've got approval to run the qualifications you think you have. And what we'd really like you to start doing is adding yourself to the qualifications that you offer as course contact or IV. I'm going to briefly show you how to do this.
I've just put the training dates in, or the link to the training dates in the chat as well, Nick. Perfect. So that people can book on those. They're all bookable on the website.
There we go. Don't know why I just put the other one on there. So on the website, there is multiple training sessions running, and these are sort of a short 1 hour session where you can find out how to get logged into MIA, what to find, where to find stuff. Particular things for us is, bear with me. So you have your information about the organisation. So when you click on products, you can see the qualifications you are approved to run at your centre. If that is wrong, let us know so we can get it corrected or get the approvals through. If you go across to staff across the top, you can see your staff, the people who are approved at this centre. Okay, and if you can add yourself as a staff member, you can add yourself multiple times. So you put in the core information to add the member, and if I'm just going to click on that one to make life slightly easier. And there's a bit there you can add more information on if you need to. But then you can also do add and remove links to products. And that's where if you link yourself to those qualifications, it means when a report is written, it will link directly to you, which makes it really helpful for your centre to be able to see who's accountable. It also gives us some direct contacts. When you're setting yourself up, you can have multiple roles. So obviously assessor, direct claims contact, internal verifier, program manager, qualification contact. I think that needs to be your team's decision as to what role you have, but all of your reports for this year are going to be on MIA, and you should be able to see last year's ones on there as well. So that means you will have to be on MIA to see the report, to see your sample request, and to upload the samples. But if you're linked to the qualifications, it's a lot easier as well. So the key thing there is when you go in there, please link yourself to the qualifications that you deliver.
Things like qualification applications will also be doing through MIA as well. So as the year progresses, it's going to be more and more necessary.
Yeah, basically everything's going to be on MIA. So we're going to have to be on there, unfortunately. Another section you can look at is when you see the product library, you can see the qualifications you've been approved to run. And when you click on those, you will be able to, and click documents, you'll be able to see any uploads we've put in there. So I have already uploaded today's notes from the clinic into the level 2, 3 and 4 counselling. So you'll be able to access those notes now. You can go and log in now if you want to see them. You can also see on there the assessments and things like that for the year. So there's quite a lot of documents in there that you'll be able to see. So I would thoroughly recommend you get yourselves in there and find out what's going on. If there's anybody who needs a login setting up, your centre can set them up directly, and we can have a quick look and see who it is at your centre who can set it up. And in some cases we can set it up as well, depending on the centre. So do let us know in the chat and we can get you set up at the end. Come back to my slides. So that's your MIA section. I know I've gone through that really quickly. I can come back to that again later if you want, if there's any specific things you want to find. Yes, of course, Jenny's just mentioned that your centre user and your centre staff are different, so you sometimes have to add them on twice. Any issues with this, I would thoroughly recommend going to the MIA training, and they will be able to make sure you're set up in the right place there and then. Quartz. So this is where you're registering your learners this year, as you would normally do to generate your ERAC. Can you please make sure you generate the ERAC shortly after registration to check it is correct? So you're looking at your learner names, the components, assessments, so on. Who is the assessor, the IV and the EV? Any components that have previously been claimed will show as a date instead of being blank. The same will apply for any RPL that has automatically transferred through. If you find any errors now, it's much easier to correct at this point than it is at the point of claiming in July, August, September, because I know we've got some still going through at the moment who are we're trying to fix things on the ERACs. So please do just spend a few minutes after registration checking that it is correct. A common theme this year is the RPL. So this is when, for primarily the level 4 qual, when the level 3 transfers through, and I think just the level 5 have a level 4 transfer through as well. It should automatically transfer through if they've done the new level 3 and they're doing the new level 4. If they did the old level 3, which we've had quite a few this year, and they're going to travel, they're now doing the new level 4, it doesn't automatically transfer over. And you need to do an RPL form on MIA to let us know to transfer those over. So that's why I would like these guys to start checking that ERAC as soon as you're registered, because if it's not showing, we can get that through early on instead of getting to the end of the year and wondering why the certificate hasn't generated. And then the other part is your mandatory assessments are found on MIA in the products library, in the same place where the notes are. We will also be uploading the video for this session into those product notes as well. So instead of having to scrabble around on Quartz, you can just go to your individual qualification and everything is in that section. Have I suitably scared everybody off there? More planning for the year. So EQA. So this is my bit that I work obviously very closely with our 3 EQAs, Phil, Glenys and Katie, to plan out the year. So what I'm asking you guys now, please schedule these now for the year to make sure that your EQA has availability when you want them. On previous years, the EQAs have come to you and said, when do you want it? This year, it would be much easier if you guys use the link on the slide. Okay, and complete the booking form. All it's asking you for the key information. So yeah, if you know your ERAC numbers, add them in. What's your name? What's your address? And once that's in, we can then get you registered and booked with your EQA at the time that best suits everybody. And you can book all of those for the year now, or if you wanted to, you can just get your interim booked in. And all of the EQA activity will then be done through this system. Your sample will be on MIA, so you'll be asked when it's done, when it's sample selected back in sort of January time, you'll be asked to log in and have a look at your sample and then upload the evidence into your EV report. We are working on 2 remote EV visits for the year for each centre. So please, again, just plan your year to make sure you're going to get your coverage in there. Do consider the UCAS deadline. That pesky deadline that caused us all issues last year is going to be there again. So work to the 1st of July. Make sure you've got access to MIA, or the people who need to are going to have accesses. And at present, I am not making any changes to allocations unless your EV or yourself specifically say it's not working. I think after the last few years, having some consistency with yourselves and your EVs to build up that relationship is really important at the moment. So I am planning on keeping you as is, unless there's a significant change we're forced into making. I've got a bit of a Q&A session for you at this point, talking about standardisation and IQA. So the question really is, how and when should you guys be undertaking IQA and standardisation activity? And I just wondered, is there anybody who'd like to maybe give an example of how they do it? Because I know there's quite a varied practice between the counselling centres, but they all seem to be really good for their individual centres. So don't feel that you're not doing something right because your EQAs are quite happy. So if there's anybody who wants to maybe to take the stage for a second and talk a bit about how they do, how often you're doing the IQA, how often you're standardising, anything like that. Feel free to unmute yourself for it. You're all staying quiet on me. Yeah, so Katie's saying they do quarterly team meetings for your standardisation. Again, yeah, that works really well. Some people say they aim for quarterly, but then the fourth one's always August, so it kind of gets pushed back a little bit. What sort of focus is anybody putting into their standardisation? Are you just looking at things in general, or are you particularly looking at the grading of a particular assessment or the content of a particular area? Yeah, again, Katie's saying we've got peer IQA and new staff. Again, yes, your risk rating should be picking up that a new staff member is going to be a higher risk than somebody who's fairly well established into the qualification. So you would be really focusing in on activity to support them. Have a look at, I think with the level, certainly the level 3s and 4s, with it being graded and it's not really had a normal year yet, I would particularly like to be seeing standardisation around the grading of the assessments. So having sessions where you can compare your grades, having a set task that you compare the grades you're awarding each one to, or again just having sessions where you maybe get wobbly grades and you all agreed decisions. It doesn't always have to be a really formalised standardisation session. It could just be discussions you're having if there's just two of you doing the assessments. We will be putting in a request to centres for standardisation through November, hopefully December. I'm particularly going to be looking at the graded evidence, and we will be sending that request to the qualification contacts on MIA. So
I know you're going to go on to the new unit as well in a moment, Nick. But that's another suggestion for standardisation because there's a new unit.
Definitely the blended learning.
So that would be So that would be something to standardise as well if you're doing new units.
Kerry, yes, definitely. Ongoing standardisation of the journals is absolutely fine. Just make sure you've got some records of how you're doing it. The beauty of Teams or sort of the SharePoint and the Google Drive type things is if you have your documents in a shared file, you can all make comments on the document and it shows time stamping. So you don't always have to come together at one point to do the standardisation. The EQAs on here will know that that's sometimes how we do it, that we say, here's your samples, go and put some comments in over the next week and then we'll come together and have a discussion on it. And that means that we've got evidence of how people are contributing to standardisation and also the discussions that are being taken place and things that are getting picked up rather than the minutes of meetings. And then when we're asked to provide evidence, we can just say it's all there on the Teams page. So you don't have to all sit in have a meeting in a big room and make notes. It can be done quite intuitively and differently. So for instance, with the standardisation of journals, you may want to say, okay, we're going to put some in and everyone's going to put a couple of comments in. And it might be, watch out for this, or I really like this and we're going to take that bit on board. The next question then is, would you like any subject standardisation for you guys to attend? And that it will be in the new year. but if there's any particular content or assessments that you would like us to offer some standardisation, it would be done remotely. So I know we did a little bit last year, didn't we, as under the tags side of it, but we can look at bringing on a session where we ask you to come and discuss some of the samples and pick out the good points, pick out the areas and discussion points. Is that something you would find beneficial and you would like to attend? And I guess the second part of that is when. Is there a particular point where this would be more useful than not, if that makes sense? Do you know what I mean? I'm assuming if I was to do this in June and July, you wouldn't be that happy because you've not had a chance to implement it. But I know a lot of you have interim January, February, March, so would you like it around about then, or would you prefer it earlier, later? And then the other part to that is I need to know which assessments you want to look at particularly. Is there any particular ones where you think, oh, that's the one that always gives us a bit of grief at the centre? It always makes it a bit challenging. You can send that through directly to myself or to your EQAs, or you can tell your EQAs at their EV meeting what you would like it on, and then we can make sure we do those ones, because there's no point me coming in and doing a level 2 component and you all going, well, no, we needed level 3. So tell us what level and which assessments you specifically want to look at. This information for the exam dates is all on the website. So you've got level 2. This is screenshotted, so you can't see it brilliantly well. And I don't know why that click to add text is there. It won't delete. So it's just sitting in there. So we've got level 2 counselling. We've got 11th of January. Please make sure you've scheduled by the 12th of November. So that's only a few weeks ago. So if you've got any in there, please do put them in, make sure you've got them registered and then in there. And then the summer one is the 7th of June. Again, scheduled by the 29th of April. For the level 3, we're on Wednesday the 12th of January and Wednesday the 8th of June. Same scheduled dates of 12th of November. And just a reminder then that the summer 2022 is the final opportunity for the learners registered on the expiring qualifications. So if you've got any learners who haven't yet completed those old qualifications, they've got next summer is the final assessment for the exam. Level 4 again is 11th of January and 7th of June. Again, 12th of November, 29th of April for your submission, the scheduling dates. And then you've got the study of supervised practice, 14th of January and 14th of June. And again, scheduling by the 12th. So the 12th of November is your deadline to get everything scheduled in for anything taking place in January. I think that's the key bit to take away from this. This is all available on the website to refer to as well. And again, just reminding that the old level 4 next summer is the final exam for that one. So we've got a bit talking about the new components and so on. So we talked a bit about the blended learning, the blended practice component over the last year, as something that was brought in to meet the needs of the current scenarios. So as of August this year, you can offer that new module of blended practice as part of the options. You've got 3 particular sections. So key aspects of online and phone therapy, understand the advantages and disadvantages, and be able to embark on employing a blended learning approach. So there is the theory essay and then there's the role play. So you're able to use the assessments in place already. Is there any questions on that blended practice component at this point? I'm hoping that's not new information to anybody, because I know we've talked about it quite a lot over the last year, but it is there available. I know a couple of centres have said they are doing it already and they're integrating it already in, because they were kind of covering it anyway, so they've been able to bring it in. I do know they would like feedback on this unit going forwards. So if you make sure you can give your EVs feedback if you do use this component, and they can note it in their EV report for the product team to review it next summer and make sure it's working.
Can I just ask a question?
Yep.
We were looking into register our new learners for the level 4, the year 1, and we wanted to register with the blended practice, but we were on the portal.
Yeah.
Portal, but we couldn't find the blended practice
Right.
in the optional. So yes, I sent an email earlier today, but I don't know if it was just that or if it is not updated yet.
It may be it's not quite updated. Let's say if you've emailed it over to inquiries, they will have a look and investigate and find out where and get it added in there if it's not showing. Sometimes it's a simple button somewhere that's not quite been missed, or it's just not updated itself yet.
Absolutely, thank you.
The information is in the qual spec, in the handbook at this point as well, though, so you know it is there. It's just not quite caught up. Your placement hours for level 4 and 5. So in line with the professional body guidance, we are still accepting the online or phone sessions to count towards the 100 hours. We are matching in with the professional body guidance about ratios in terms of how much online, how much phone, how much face-to-face. So we generally, when they change it, we align with that to make sure that your qualification is still valid and current. There's no change to the current process. So if you remember, we've been asking you to submit them by a deadline because you complete the log of hours and then you confirm the additional evidence to assess in the room competence if required. So if any learners are using online or phone sessions, you need to make sure there's some information in there. And we would recommend it's seen by the IV and then it goes through an EV, but it all goes through one EV at once rather than through your own individual allocated EV. So submission deadlines, we've put them in 14th of January, so that lines in with your exams. 8th of March, 14th of June, again, aligns in with the SSP submissions and all those. And then 30th of August to get it through, obviously, for the end of the academic year. So you've got your 4 deadlines in there. You can tell the students where they need to be getting their hours in by to be able to get it awarded. And you would send that in the same way you do everything else through the inquiries inbox. A reminder, this was on last year's slide as well, that we've got the level 3 has UCAS points. So factoring in the latest EV sign off of the 1st of July so that we can get your UCAS uploads up to make sure the learners get accredited it on the UCAS website. Last year we sort of did a bit of a flexi, didn't we, where we allowed some people to upload it for the 1st, but then anyone who didn't need the UCAS will be after that. I would like as much as we can through by the 1st. If the learners need UCAS, it absolutely has to be uploaded in the system by the 1st of July. So that means the ERAC needs to have been uploaded and your final EV needs to have signed everything off. That allows times for awards boards and exams to catch up and all those sorts of things and make sure we meet that UCAS deadline. If your learners are not applying for UCAS, then obviously you're not stuck in that in the same way. We will give you more information over the next few clinics to confirm whether you're going to be able to deviate from that 1st of July if you don't need the UCAS, or what information we need. So if they get distinction, they get 24 points, high merit is 20, merit 16, high pass 12, pass an 8. So obviously that's not enough for a entire UCAS entry, but it does obviously increase. So if the learners are doing something else and doing alongside this, it gives them an extra few points. So it's really useful for enrichment if you're in the colleges and the students want to do an extra bit to get an extra few points. Catherine, did you?
I was going to do this. Yeah, I'll do this bit, give you a bit of a break.
Thank you.
Well, what we like to put into these clinics is just a little bit of information about other qualifications that AIM run that you might be interested in, that might link to your subject area. Not implying that these are going to make anybody a counsellor, but some of these qualifications, if you want to do some sort of introduction to counselling, we've got a number of level 1 qualifications. as you can see, level 1 in befriending, level 1 in behaviour change, and then there's the personal social development skills qualification at award certificate diploma, which have got a number of units that might be of interest. One of which is actually a level 1 introduction to counselling skills 6 credit unit. So if you were looking at going down a level, that might be of interest to you. Level 2, again, PSD, same sort of units, lot of units around. Actually, sorry, the counselling skills unit is actually in the working in health, lifestyle and science industries. Apologies, I've just said that wrong. But in the PSD, there's lots of units around beliefs, values, dealing with difficult situations, drugs, domestic abuse, diversity, equality, diversity, etc. that might be of interest at both level 1 and level 2. And as I say, the level 2 award in skills for working in health has got the 6 credit counselling skills unit, plus other ones like assertiveness, work practice, career planning, all of those kind of things. And then there's the level 3 access to HE, if any of you are looking at preparing your learners to actually go off and do a degree.
So I think these are really useful for sort of enrichment, or if you've got learners who maybe are finishing one programme and not ready to start the next, it can be a bit of an interim to keep them with you before they move on to the next one. So it's always worth just being aware of what's there. And you may find you can even holistically assess from the counselling qualification into some of these components, and they can actually get an extra qualification at the same time.
How we can help training. We've already talked about some of these training sessions that are available, like the MIA training, which is a link in the chat. The clinics you're already aware of. There are also little bite-sized training sessions on the website about using the portal, how to make claims, how to actually complete and generate your ERACs. Those are all on the website under training and events section. So you can book onto those, or you can just watch the little YouTube videos as and when is suitable for you. The last question on there, anything else that you would like? Is there any training that would be useful, or any little videos that would be useful for people to have? You may not think about them now, but you can always get in touch with us, send something to inquiries if you actually do think of something that would be quite useful to you for the future that you're struggling with that isn't already on there. Another for information, if any of you are interested, I know that there's at least one of you here that is already one of our external verifiers, but we are always looking for sessional people, these are, so it's not permanent roles, but external verifications for a range of the counselling qualifications. Examiners, product developments are often looking at certain times in the year for people who could look at writing the assessments, helping write the exams, quality assuring all the assessments and the exams. And then the bottom point is actually around the endpoint assessment arm of AIM. As many of you may know, we have got the role of endpoint assessor for a lot of different apprenticeship standards. So don't know what your backgrounds are, but some of you may well be suited to some of those. But they're all on the website that you could have a little look at.
We're also recruiting for the qualification and assessment manager, which is a full-time office-based role at the moment, which is particularly focused on delivering and managing the exams. So if you've got experience with the counselling exams, then you may very well find yourself quite ideally suited. So if you are thinking of something different, that one is there as well at the moment. I don't know when the deadline is, but it's probably not too far away. But it's found in the same link as above. Yeah.
I don't know whether the deadline is for that one now, but it went on about a week ago, so it should be there for a little while. Provider meeting dates, which hopefully you've all got. I know I emailed them all out again the other day. So hopefully you've got all of those. Whether you've booked onto them, I don't know. But again, bookable on the website. Next one is December, just before Christmas, and then May and July. So hopefully those are suitable. We've got them at slightly different times to hopefully suit everybody.
So I think December's one, we're particularly starting looking at things like how to plan your standardisation and how to do standardisation within your teams and preparing for your exams. And we can probably look at putting in sort of a standardisation clinic, I think, in the new year to actually deliver some standardisation activities. I'm going to have a think how we can do it, because it's always a bit challenging remotely in terms of making sure we can get enough activity going on. So it may be that we put you in a Teams page and we get you to do some comments and so on. But again, any suggestions welcome for that. You've got the link for booking. If you don't book on, you won't get the link to attend. So please do make sure you've booked on the events. And then we've also got here feedback on the session. After this, I'll be sending out an email just to ask you if you can provide some feedback on these clinics in terms of how useful they are, and on obviously any feedback going forward. So if there's anything you were thinking as the session went on but haven't had a chance to put it in chat, you're welcome to put it in that feedback. And we do use that to inform us going forward. Is there anything you thought you were going to get from today that you haven't, or any questions anybody's got that they want to check or ask about?